Jaques and Matteucci that are going to go at center. I'm not so sure Matteucci didn't start things a little bit here. Now Jaques locked up in there. Matteucci with some right uppercuts connecting perhaps. Now he's wailing away to Steve Jaques. Jaques trying to fire back with the left. Pretty good battle at center ice. Matteucci with a right that may have scored to the head of Steve Jaques, and the linesmen get in there to separate him. So we have played 5.5 here from Long Beach, and we've had a couple of bouts already.
I don't know if Matteucci knew who he was dealing with there. Steve Jaques, pound for pound, has to be one of the toughest players in the IHL. Looked like Matteucci thought he was going to have his way, but Jaques, with those big lefts, starts pounding away halfway during the fight.
Mike Matteucci played his college hockey at Lake Superior State, won the championship back in 1995.
I don't know if he's going to get 2 minutes for instigating, but he was certainly one of the aggressors here. He had his gloves off before Steve knew what was going on. They went, and one thing that Steve Jaques gives away in this fight, he gives away 30, 40 pounds. Matteucci's 6'3", 220 pounds. Big lad out of Lake Superior State.
And scooped it down to the corner for Mark Beaufait. And this wasn't even the line that was much of the factor. Kevin Smyth did get 2 goals. Here is a puck picked up by Conroy and shot out at center ice. Hadn't eaten his back, and the whistle. We've got Smyth and Jaques. They're going to drop the gloves. Smyth about an inch or 2 taller than Jaques, and Steve Jaques took a right hand, a couple of right hands, and Smyth rocking away at Jaques, but Jaques came back with a stiff left and caught Kevin Smyth, and down they went. Pretty good bout there.
Well, they don't call Steve Jaques the pit bull for nothing, Adam, and Kevin Smyth wanting to tangle with Steve Jaques, who pound for pound is likely one of the toughest guys in the IHL.
So they'll go into the box. And with that said, let us send it down to Rob Dobson. And Dobber, what positive things were built on in that intermission?
Well, if you
Up center to pass, that's kicked away by Shabbat. Picked up in the corner by Blaine Moore. Now Rhett Trombley in a battle with Steve Jaques. Now Sears takes Sloan to the boards. Puck in behind as Jaques and Trombley go at it. You watch those two, and they're going to go. Trombley drops his gloves, and he's going to fight with Jaques, who keeps his gloves on. And Rhett Trombley drops him. And, well, I must say I'm not too surprised about this start, and we'll talk about it when we return. Scoreless from the Summit. We'll be right back, but first this word from Southwest Airlines. Scoreless from the Summit, 16:42 to go in the first, and Troy, looks like the O's are going to get a power play.
Well, and they should. They were jostling in front. Rhett Trombley, who's one of the toughest characters in the IHL, and Steve Jaques. They're just tossing back and forth, and they're holding on to each other's sticks, but Rhett Trombley took it a step further. He took off his gloves.
And Steve Jaques did not.
Did not. A very smart move by Steve Jaques. Rhett Trombley is not going to kill you with his offensive prowess.
Dave Tomlinson for the Roadrunners. Tomlinson has it now. Off his stick. Steve McKenna battling along the boards. And then McKenna knocked down from behind, and we got a penalty coming up, and McKenna gets up and drops the gloves, and here we go. Jaques and McKenna. Jaques missed, and McKenna lands a right hand. McKenna with another right hand, and down goes Jaques.
Jaques threw a bomb with that first punch and missed. McKenna ends up getting a couple good ones in.
Jaques is going to get the original penalty for the cross-check.
McKenna on the side boards had his man Belichick tied up. Jaques comes in for a little help, gives the cross-check. Then you know they're both going to go. Here comes the bomb from Jaques that he misses with. Right there.
Oh, and you're in trouble when you miss with that.
He was going for EKO on the first punch.
Now they're sending the players. There's the miss right there. And it was a big one. And boy, Steve knows he's in trouble right now because he's falling forward.
For 26, Steve McKenna. 5 minutes for fighting.
Blades trying to take over, and here is Dale Cranwell in the corner. Wiseman takes it away, and he'll shoot it up as now Jaques wants to go with Sloan. Jaques pulls the gloves off. Will Sloan do it? No. And the linesman get in there. Well, Jaques wanted to fight him, and then he lets a right go, and he clocked him, and oh boy, here we go. Jaques let him have it with a right hand, and everybody matched up. And now, Brian Bach telling Jerry Lyons to get out on the ice as Blake Sloan bleeding. And Sloan wants after Jaques. Cheap shot from Steve Jaques. I realize Sloan didn't want to fight him, but that was a bit of a cheap shot from Steve Jaques.
Not typical Steve Jaques. That was a total sucker punch, and Sloan is just furious over there. He was not going to fight. There's 1 minute left to go in the contest. The Arrows are leading by 3. Well, why do that? It seemed like it was all over. And then out of nowhere, Jaques threw the big right-hand bomb. It's not typical Steve Jaques to do something like that.
Well, you know, when Steve Jaques fights, usually it's pretty, an even, clean kind of situation. But this is outright dirty.
Well, both linesmen have their men, and then the one linesman lets it go, and Steve Jaques throws him off. That is a KO punch. That is, the linesman should not have let him go. Steve Jaques, I'm sorry to say it, I'm a friend with Steve Jaques, but when you get away from a linesman like that, and you sucker punch someone like that, there has to be repercussions.
Oh, there will be.
And that video replay just shows clearly that the play was done. Both linesmen had their guys. Jaques made an extra attempt to get his right arm out, and then just cold cocked.
Call number 3, Steve Jaques. 2 minutes for roughing.
Here are the calls.
Match penalty.
Well, he gets a match penalty.
And now down by the Kansas City.
2 minutes for roughing and a 5-minute match penalty at 19 minutes even.
Now we've got some problems in the stands.
I think some fans were very upset over Steve Jaques' actions there, and they're letting the Kansas City Blades know.
It's just, you know what? It's the same guy about a month, not even a month ago, a couple weeks ago.
It's unfortunate. It's been a very good game. Jaques with the match. With that match penalty, I believe he'll likely be automatically suspended.
I believe the rule is you're automatically suspended for 1 game pending further review from the league.
And I'm sure with that angle that the Fox crew did a tremendous job in getting of Steve Jaques getting away from the line.
Ian Fraser has the lone even strength goal. And now Jaques lines up Vial and cranked him out at center ice. Vial wants to go, and they will. Center circle. Jaques with the right. Vial with the right. And now the linesmen immediately step in, and Vial incensed at the linesman that he won't let him go. I'd have to agree.
Jaques went for his one shot at glory there. And after that, Denny would have hammered him if he'd had any chance.
Well, the way Jaques is holding his right hand, I don't know where he hit him, but I think he might have hurt himself. Vial's going to remain.